What is up, guys, and I do hope you're well. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe even the notification bell. And let's get straight into it. Our first story is from rEnparents. I hope I got that right. Entitled parent shouts at child for wanting to be a princess like the girl in the makeup aisle. Hello, I've been watching your channel for like months and it's my favourite. And I think I finally found some courage to post on here as well. Anyway, it's a long one. I'm on my phone, so sorry for any formatting errors. English isn't my first language, etc. Okay, a little backstory. I'm a Dutch girl and I'm 14 years old. I wear quite a lot of makeup. Well, only eyeliner, mascara, lip gloss. Sometimes I use highlighter and eyeshadow as well. Me too. And I love going shopping for new items. I dress quite formally and wear boots with high heels. I'm not really a fan of all modern clothes and shoes. Also, I'm a lesbian, important for the story. Cast, EM, entitled mum. SD, sweet daughter, probably 9 or 10. ND, nice dad. Me, the princess in the makeup aisle. Sounds like a book in itself. Alright, it was one of those days where I didn't have anything to do. My girlfriend has a busy day at school and I'm extremely bored. So I went to go shopping in town. It's sort of a tiny shopping centre with a town square and lots of other regular shops around it. I went to one of the drugstores and immediately went to the makeup aisle. Usually I would go with my best friend, but she has an appointment that day. I was just looking around a bit when I felt someone tapping on my shoulder. I turned around and saw EM. It's quite some time ago and it won't be 100% accurate, but I still remember it pretty well. Here's the conversation. I said, "Hello, can I help you?" The EM says, "Yes, I would like you to tell me who is doing this to you." What? "Dear, I would like to know who is forcing you to wear that garbage on your face and making you wear those boots and those high heels. I can call the police for you so you won't have to be scared anymore." I apologise, miss. No one is forcing me. I just like to look this way." I kid you not. This lady let out a large gasp and looked so shocked. "How dare you? Why would you do such a thing? Is someone hurting you? Do they make you think you need to do this?" "No, miss. I just like to do this. It makes me feel pretty." "Well, you look absolutely hideous. You must stop doing this to yourself." The sweet daughter says, "Mum, stop. The princess just wants to look pretty." "No, child. This brat will never look pretty." I am not making this up. She literally said this. "Well, I apologise, but quite some people like the way I look." "Lies. No one can find you attractive." The sweet daughter whispers, "I do." "Shut up, you little sh..." "Well, miss, I apologise for talking back, but my best friends think I look good. The boy who has a crush on me thinks I look good. My cousin thinks I look good, and most importantly, my sweet girlfriend thinks I look absolutely perfect." EM gasps very loudly again. "You're a filthy f..." Sorry for slightly blurring that. That word really offends me. The bitch seriously pulled her child away from me because I breathed the gay over her. The girl was literally sobbing because her mum called her a little shit, so she ran away. I said, "I apologise, miss. I do not like to be called that. Now please leave me alone." I tried to turn around, but she literally pushes me into the wall of makeup. I'm used to quite some abuse, so I ignored it and walked to another aisle. Apparently SD was there too, to find some comfort with the toys and stuffed animals. She ran up to me and hugged me. I said, "Oh, poor kid, are you alright?" Yes." The poor girl was stuttering really badly. "Hey, it's okay if you're not. We can all be sad sometimes. Mummy does not allow me to be..." "Oh God. Well, dear, please remember that you're always allowed to cry. I know how you feel, but there will be a day when you can fight back to your mother." "Okay, I'm sorry for what she did. I just told her I want to be as pretty as you. You look like a princess." "It's alright." I smile a little and pull out one of my cheaper lip glosses for kids. Those can be so nice, and I give it to her. "Oh, thanks." I also buy some candy to cheer her up. She calms down and smiles. "Just say to your mother that you got it from an old lady that was handing out candy to everyone. And don't forget that you can always be who you want to be. It doesn't matter what your mother says." "Thank you, Miss Princess. I hope you and your princess wife have a happy life." I smiled and purchased the other things I wanted to buy. I thought it was over, but hell no. My best friend's appointment ended earlier, so she came to me. I told her what happened when the EM and SD walked past us. The EM was screaming at the poor girl. And EM was saying, "How dare you speak to that Mummy, she's very nice. I didn't give a f. She's a sin. She wears makeup, slutty shoes, and is a fat." "Stop!" The bitch literally hit the poor child in the face. It was heartbreaking. I called the police and told them what had happened. The police station is in the same part of town, so a few officers came while the police cars were on their way. The EM shouted at them while the SD was crying in the background. I walked to her and helped her until her father came to pick her up. The nice dad said, "Hello, thank you for helping my daughter." You don't have to say thanks. I did what I felt was right. I still want to thank you. He seriously gives me €50. Oh mister, please, I cannot take that. Please, I insist, you help my angel. Well, alright then, thank you so much. You're welcome. Now I'll take my angel home and finally file for divorce. He smiled and left while my best friend and I were absolutely paralysed from the shock. Meanwhile, the EM was still attempting to fight the police officers. She eventually got taken away and everything was calm again. So yeah, I'm sorry for that long story. It was just such a mess. And I know it sounds fake, but I swear to God this happened. Oh my word. I can see why you're I can see why you're like saying I swear to God it's not fake, because it sounds absolutely insane. And I'm not doubting you saying it's not true or anything, because you know, I've read a lot of these stories now and some insane things happen all the time in these stories, and it doesn't really surprise me anymore. You know, people will judge you based upon your makeup, your looks, your disabilities, your gender, everything. It really doesn't surprise me. So what an absolute mess that was, and you can only feel sorry for the child, and hopefully they're in a better place now. Thank you very much for sharing that story. Now we have a story from Alton Blue. Mother walks out of my ITS senior banquet because my dad was invited by the booster club and claimed I ruined her night. Hello Daddy Cringe, I asked you a while back if you felt I should post my own entitled parent story involving my own mother, and you said go ahead. I had originally posted this to r/entitledparents, but had to take it down due to lack of karma, and you hadn't set up your subreddit yet. So now that you have one, I haven't wanted any EP stories for a while, so I just learned about it, so here is my story. I'm not going to make any excuses, I'm not on mobile, English is my first language, but grammar wasn't my strong suit back in school. So a bit of backstory, my parents were divorced when I was 15, not important to the story overall, but to explain a bit more about my mental health during this time. They told us about the divorce not too long after one of my grandmother's funeral, and to pour salt on the still open wound, she was engaged and remarried 3 months after the divorce was finalised, although her now husband pretty much started slowly moving in, almost as soon as my dad moved out. When I entered high school, I joined my theatre department. Yes, theatre, not theatre. I don't know if there's a difference in reading it. Sorry if there is. And honestly, I swear it probably saved my life. I had pretty bad depression at the time, and this group of amazing people helped me come back to my older self. Even though my mother seemed to just try and keep me depressed, and participated in every single show, all 4 years of my high school career. And in my first year, I managed to join ITS, International Thespian Society. During this time, my mother took nearly every excuse she could use to threaten to pull me out of theatre, and even threatened to have it shut down because we would be out very late for a competition, which she knew was going to happen the farther we went into the competition, and even signed the paper/contract acknowledging that she understood this. She even told me never to bother her about booster club meetings after the very first time I told her about it. More did happen, but I can't remember everything. Basically, the only thing she ever did to really support me was to pick me up from after school and weekend rehearsals. Nearly an hour after the rehearsals were over, and no, we did not live that far from the school. Hell, it took her 10 to 15 minutes to get to work, which was in the middle school just down the road from my high school, and attend the shows, always claiming that she was sacrificing so much to allow me to be in these shows. She even refused to have me paid to go to a convention centred around theatre and bettering your acting. Yet, she was willing to spend $500 plus to help my sister go to a drill team camp that my sister decided not to go to almost immediately after my mother paid. My dad, on the other hand, was fully supportive, giving up what little time he was able to see me so I could go to the rehearsals. Joined me at nearly every fundraiser he could, and even gave me what little time he had to the booster club whenever they had a meeting. Of course, my mother hated that and tried to get everyone to hate him and have him kicked out of the booster club. Now, to establish the setting, at the end of the year, the theatre department and the ITS, technically the same department but officially different organisations, host a banquet to celebrate our accomplishments, induct new members, say goodbye to seniors, and overall have a fun time. The planning for the banquet officially starts as soon as school starts, so we planned this months in advance, and in my last 2 years I was an ITS officer, one of the head honchos, and was there since day one planning this banquet and many other events. Now that this was established, this all happened during my senior banquet and the Booster Club had decided to invite my dad. I fully supported this, hoping she'd be civil for just one night. Boy, was I wrong. I made sure that they sat as far away from each other as I could, or interact in any way. Heck, unless they were looking, they'd barely even see each other. I know you have to censor language due to YouTube's Hello Kitty rules. You wouldn't even believe the stuff I go through just lately. It's absolutely crazy. Don't get me started on that. So I placed down what I'd like you to replace the harsh language with. Thank you. The cast, me/OP. Who else would it be? Ryan Reynolds? EM, my entitled bitch. Uninstalled IKEA shelf. Mother. TD, theatre director. Such a wonderful woman when you're on her good side. The devil herself if you're on her bad. D. Dad. So the banquet had started, and I was sitting at the front table and everything is going smoothly until it was time to eat. My dad was one of the first tables to get served food, so when he got up my mother finally noticed him. Nearly an hour into the banquet and called me over. This conversation isn't word for word, but just the general idea and what I can remember. EM says, "What is he doing here?" "The Booster Club invited him." "Well, he shouldn't be here. I worked hard so you can be here, so you better go and tell him to go or I'm leaving." I then went over to my dad, who had just gotten his food. "Dad, Mum wants you out of here." "What do you want?" "I want you to stay. I want you both to stay. But if you stay, she won't. I do whatever you want. Just take your time to decide what you're going to do." I sat down at my seat and covered my face and nearly started crying in front of everyone when the TD walked over. TD said, "What's wrong, OP?" Not through tears, but on the verge of them. "It's my mother. She threatened to leave if I don't kick my dad out." "Hey, don't worry about it. This is your night." Now this is not the first time my theatre director or the entire theatre department has seen me cry because of my mother, but this being my final banquet that I'd spent months planning and preparing for pushed many of them over the edge that they were barely hanging on to in the first place. I don't know exactly what happened next, as by that time I was actually in tears and didn't even look up. When I looked up I had noticed that my mother had left with my sister and her husband. All I was told is that she caused a scene before storming out from both my theatre director and the head of the booster. After that everything ran smoothly until I went home. I'd found out she yelled at my brother for not telling that he'd be there. My brother didn't even know, but she didn't believe him and was angry at me for ruining her night that she deserved more than anyone. I wish I had told her tonight wasn't your night. It wasn't even my night. It was everyone who had put in their time, money, effort and appreciation into the department's night. Several days later, she sent me an email. Yes, an email. Even though I was in the exact same house with her, telling me how disappointed she was in me. I doubt I'll ever hear the end of it, since she and other people on her side of the family has used that night multiple times to try and make me feel guilty. Thank you for reading. This isn't the only story that sticks with me, and if you really want me to, then I'll share some of the other ones. Of course we do, but that is so heartbreaking that a mother can't suck it up for one night. You've got to realise that when a mother and father are split up, the emotional baggage that comes along with that for a child that has to see them separate and all that kind of thing, it plays on their head, and of course you want to please both your parents, and it looked like to some extent that you have a good relationship for both of them, so it's really sad that your mother's doing that to you. That's really, really bad. And to send you an email as well. I mean, what the hell? Seriously, you do you, because one day she will regret that choice. Much love, and thank you so much for sharing that story. Next we have a story from auntfab. I smell pretty. I hope you choke. I've always been a rather sickly individual. I have bronchial asthma, and I'm allergic to just about any kind of artificial scent, in addition to lots of other things. Also, very cold air tends to really affect me, and can even trigger an asthma attack. In the winter especially, I tend to catch every bug or illness that goes around, but I'm particularly prone to bronchitis and pneumonia, because faulty lungs. There's been a time or two when I get sick enough that it actually became life-threatening, so as you can imagine, I take it seriously whenever I catch an illness that involves my lungs. I'm also one of those people who doesn't get upset easily. I'm quiet, and when people try to antagonise me, I generally let it roll off my back, turn it into a joke, or ignore it. I'm not the scrappy sort, and I hate confrontation. This leads people to believe that I'm an easy target, and they are often surprised when I stand up for myself or someone else. I first moved to Armpit from Arscrack for a call centre job. Arsecrack didn't have many jobs that paid above minimum wage, and the new job in Armpit paid about $3 above, so it was a very exciting move for me. The job was telemarketing. Please don't tell me how much you hate telemarketers. Yes, we suck, but everybody needs to earn a living, and it was an evening shift. As with many call centres, Ringy McRingers didn't have desks assigned to individuals, and management made it clear that seats are available on a first come first served basis. Although we didn't have assigned spaces, we had all the seats we normally sat in, and taking someone's seat was generally considered a dick move. During my second year at Ringy McRingers, I caught the flu, which morphed into a terrible case of bronchitis that I just couldn't shake. I'd missed a lot of work and was no longer contagious, so I decided not to miss any more. I was still coughing a lot, but as long as I stayed away from things that triggered my asthma, I was pretty much okay. One particular day, I came into work and went to sit down. When I reached my chair, the place where I usually sat already occupied, in my seat sat a bona fide Becky. Insert mental eye roll here. This is when I knew this day was not going to be a good one. Not only was I separated from my little group of friends, but I was going to be forced to tolerate the most annoying of office workers. Great. One thing I noticed shortly after settling in is that Becky was a frequent perfumer, someone who feels the irrational need to reapply a perfume multiple times a day. Warning, rant to ensue. If you're one of these people, please know that you are a monster. If you're a public perfumer, then you're an entitled monster. Even if your perfume smells nice, most people don't want to swim in its scent. Even if you can't smell it, trust me, the rest of us can, and it gets stronger every time you reapply it. Do everyone you work with a favour and leave the bottle at home. Please and thank you. Rant over. I could smell a perfume from several feet away. By the time I noticed, it was too late to move, as all the seats were taken. During our team meeting, I asked my friend Lake why she didn't save a seat for me, and she said that she tried. When she told Becky that I sat there, Becky loudly proclaimed with a smile that I thought seats weren't assigned, while giving our team lead the side eye. She was technically correct, but that, unless there are no other options, is the kind of thing that only Karens, Beckys and Christianas really do. As the day progressed, I started feeling really funky, and I knew the cause was Becky's perfume. My head hurts, my eyes burn, and my coughing was getting worse. I was thinking about going home, but tried to soldier through because I didn't want to miss more work. Suddenly, I saw movement at the corner of my eye. My co-worker was rummaging through a Becky bag and had produced a small glass bottle. I knew what was coming, so I tried to head it off. "Hey Becky," I was smiling, trying to look as friendly as possible, despite the fact that my chest was caving in. "Can I ask a favour of you?" "Sure, what's up?" "I'm sorry to bother you, but I've been really sick with bronchitis. My asthma is really kicking today," holds up rescue inhaler. "So, if you'd please go to the restroom or outside to do that, I'd really appreciate it." Becky doesn't really say anything, but I saw an annoyed look across her face as she puts the bottle away. However, she had a smile on her face when she sat back up, and I sincerely thanked her and continued on making calls. About 10 minutes later, I was in the middle of a call when the smell hit me. The coughing bit was so bad that I had to have my head lead take over the call while I put my head between my knees. My rescue inhaler was useless. I started having bronchospasms, which is when your lungs seize up and you can't inhale or exhale. At this point, my lungs started ejecting phlegm in a way that is similar to vomiting. I'm on the floor and basically helpless. My manager had to call the ambulance to get me to hospital for a breathing treatment. Lake came over that evening to check on me and told me that Becky had actually grabbed her perfume as soon as I turned my back and purposely squirted her perfume in my direction. Every time I turned my head, she squirted it again. When I was carted away on a stretcher, she actually made some remark about me trying to get attention. I don't think I have to tell you how pissed I was. The next day, I was marginally better, so I went to work and Becky was in my seat again. I sat down next to her and she smiled and said, "Hi," like nothing ever happened. The smile disappeared when I say, "I have a bone to pick with you. Yesterday I spent most of the night in the emergency room, thanks to you. I just want you to know that I better not see that goddamn perfume bottle again, or I will kick your ass. And you better hope that I don't see you outside of work for that matter, because I will kick your ass. And if you don't get your ass out of my seat," I lean in and say the last in a very bright, pale, Becky friendly kind of voice with a big smile, "I will kick your ass." Becky jumped up, grabbed her Becky bag and moved. I didn't find this out until later, but Lake told me that Becky went to our lead and reported what I said to her. Normally such a thing would result in termination or suspension at the very least. Lake just told me that our lead looked expressionlessly at Becky and said, If I were you, I'd steer clear of her then, and turn back to her computer screen without another word, leaving Becky standing there, speechless. Turns out, our lead is also asthmatic. Thank you, auntfab, for sharing that epic story. Next we have a story from Killer Cuddles. Mum thinks my abusive ex-boyfriend is the best thing to ever happen to me. This was originally posted in r/Entitledparents, but I thought I would share it here as well. So to begin, this story is sadly about my own mother, and I could write a lot about her, from her feeling entitled to my benefits, to decide my gender, and even feeling like it's okay to walk in on me fully undressed and staring at me, as she has seen it before. English is my first language, and I'm on my laptop, but I'm not that great at writing, you have been warned. For some context, I'm 19 and trans male. I've not had hormones or surgery. I identify as male but was born female, if anyone is confused. My ex-boyfriend was a little older than me, I believe 22, and claimed to be bi, but his constant talking about anime girls, comparing me to women, and basically having no interest in men quickly made me realise that he wasn't interested in me, but my body. Along with this, he would get angry, very angry. I was often in fear he was going to hit me or beat me. Didn't talk to me, and then would complain I didn't give him any attention while at his. He was staring at his computer, yet expected me to just drop everything and stare at his computer with him, I guess. I met his family, who he claimed to be awful, yet I saw only him doing the abuse he claimed they gave him. There was some more, but yeah, I feel you guys get it by now. This was a bad relationship. But my mother loved my ex, let's call him Dan, not his real name, and thought I should get married to him. We're only dating for 4 months, yet she would go on and on about how he's the perfect man for me. I should be so lucky to have him, and you get the picture. So you can imagine her reaction when I broke up with him after he treated me so right. This conversation was a few months ago, so it might not be exact. Our cast, me, wonder who that handsome man is. EM, hey mum, you're on Reddit. So, we broke up. What? What did you do? Yep, straight to blaming me. Mum, I didn't feel safe with Dan. He didn't treat me right. Dan treated you like you deserved. How dare you leave him? Mum, he's the best you're ever going to get. Mum, I felt unsafe with him. Yeah? As I said, the best you're ever going to get. I'm going upstairs. I've been staying at a friend's of mine to be away from my mother recently. Dan and I see each other here and there, still due to having family friend groups, so that's been fun. My mother still calls me to tell me to go back with Dan, and to yell abuse down the phone for me breaking his heart. I have a lot more stories about my mother I could post on here, and other EMs, even a few EDs, but this will wrap up my first post on this subreddit. I hope I did okay. Yeah, you did good, but I'm really sorry that you're having to go through that sort of stuff. That your mother thinks an abusive relationship is a good idea. I mean, come on, why didn't she go with him then if she loves him so much, you know? Thank you very much for sharing that story. Next we have a story from Queen Dragon 91. The most hateful, entitled mum ever is my own mum. Gosh, I don't know where to start as there is so much. I should probably explain why my mum is entitled. As my friends have put it, it's because she's selfish, emotionally abusive, to the point I often burst in tears and feel suicidal. A major hypocrite, she's always put her needs above mine, and has even told me she had just enough maternal instinct for my sister and me. Big lol. This is her excuse for not spending time with my children, her 2 boys and twin girls, her grandchildren. I should also add that I have dyspraxia, which she refuses to admit she is ashamed of. Let's get into the details. She knows I am mentally challenged, dyspraxic, and has often asked me to do things that ended up getting me hurt. She once asked me to turn the kettle on, but I'd put the ironing board in front, with the iron on. Being young and not wanting to get into trouble, I leaned over the ironing board to flick the kettle and burnt my arm on the iron. Another time we went out for a walk along a path that on the left hand side had a very, very deep slope, while my mum thought it would be a great idea to ask her extremely clumsy daughter, me, lol, to go to the edge of the slope to look for chestnuts. I lean over to look, and the next thing I know I'm falling headfirst down the slope. Try to catch a branch, my mother yells. I try, but it snaps, as all branches are all thin. Next thing I know, I could feel something warm running down my face because I'd hit my head on the concrete road at the bottom of the slope. Luckily the hospital was around the corner because apparently you could see the bone above my eyebrow where I had now a huge gash. I almost fainted on my way there and felt very sick. There was a moment in 2016 where I was really sick due to misdiagnosed tonsillitis. I wanted to go to A&E, but my mum refused because I had kids to take care of. But it got so bad, I asked her to take them to school for me. But then my boyfriend at the moment took me to A&E, where they told me that my kidneys and liver were strained because of how bad the infection was. They told me that I could have died if I hadn't come in that day. I've been sick for 2 weeks. And that's just some of it. I can even write a second post when I have time to write some more. And I think there is a certain amount you can write, I'm not too sure. In any case, I love your channel and think you have a wonderful voice too. Why, thank you very much. I'm so sorry. I don't know too much about dyspraxia. I'm going to learn right now, bear with me. A development disorder of the brain in childhood causing difficulty in activities requiring coordination and movement, poor balance, poor posture and fatigue, poor integration of two sides of the body, etc, etc. So basically, yeah, I can see very, very clumsy, pretty much, but obviously in a much more extreme way. And then your mother asks you to do those things. I mean, what is she, sadistic or something? That's absolutely crazy that she asked you to do that. I sort of wonder if you ever confronted her about it. I'm assuming you was diagnosed with it and she knows about it and is just trying to hide it or what? It's really confusing. I'd love to know more about it and how she feels about it and if you've approached this before. I'm really sorry you've had to go through those things, but bone above the eyebrow. Ah man, that must have hurt so bad. Thank you so much for sharing that story, and as I said before, we'd love to hear some more. And once again guys, we've come to the end of this r/Entitled Parents. As said before, if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button and maybe the notification bell. And join us again tomorrow. Take care now. Goodbye.